macros. Do you need to track full macros? A question that we get asked a lot. So some of you might be listening to this going, what the fuck is a macro? What is a macro? So your macros are your macronutrients, which basically is your three main food groups, which is protein, fats, and carbs. There technically is a fourth macro, which is alcohol, but that's a podcast for another day, isn't it? That's a whole other video in itself. So in terms of your three macros, protein, fats, and carbs, we will typically only get you to look at protein. But before we go into why we're only going to do that, I think it's probably good to actually explain like what are the benefits, because they all come with their own individual pros and cons, and especially carbs and fats. I think they're the ones that get demonized in diet culture and generally. So we'll take a macro each. I'll take protein. So the reason that we get you to track protein, is you'll have listened in another video or watched, depending on how you listen or watch to this, is that protein is a really, really important nutrient. It's essential for our body's needs. So it's the building blocks of everything. So when you think protein, everyone thinks muscle. If I eat protein, I'm going to get super muscly. We wish. We're still trying. We're still trying. But it's the building blocks of every single cell in our body. So it is so important for everything. But when it comes to dieting, the benefit of a high protein intake is, like we said, the thermic effect of food. So it's going to actually burn more calories every day, and it's going to keep you a lot fuller. Now, if you do also have body composition goals alongside fat loss of being a bit more toned or getting stronger in the gym, then you do need lean muscle tissue, and that's where protein comes in, because protein's what's going to allow that muscle tissue to repair and rebuild. So that's why we're going to set you a protein target for those reasons, to encompass all of those. And another thing that people don't think about with protein, from a bit of a vanity perspective, is stuff. Protein is the building blocks of everything. If you want really nice skin, hair, and nails, you need a good amount of protein. So regardless to whether you are building muscle, wanting to tone up, or in a fat loss phase, we will typically get you to be more aware. Because I think generally, if you look at a normal human diet of the average of what people eat, we don't center around protein very much, do we? And I think
it's minimal,
isn't it? If you think like an average human eats like cereal or toast for breakfast, so it's carbs, maybe bits of fat, sandwiches, lunch, pack of crisps, carbs, maybe depends what you've got in your sandwich, bit of protein. Dinners sometimes can have a bit of protein.
Yeah, I think dinners would be where like the majority of people would get the most, but
some days not even. Like if you've had a tomato, pasta, pizza, those sort of things don't tend to really have protein, and then snacks don't tend to be protein based. And I think this is where carbs and fats get the bad rap, because everyone looks at the normal human diet and think it's these things that are making people fat. It's like it's not. It's overconsumption of them. So the reason we get you to sometimes actually have that target as well is just to get you actually focusing on how do I actually include this more, and focusing on the inclusivity of it. So that's why we get you to track protein. Now, carbs and fats have so many benefits, but we'll also explain why we don't get you to track them in a bit. So, Laura, do you want to take carbs? Because carbs are fun.
I love carbs.
I thought you'd want to take carbs.
All about the carbs.
So why are carbs important? Why are they maybe demonized, and why should we not be afraid of them?
So carbs are your body's main source of energy.
Yep.
That's where you get most of your energy from, which, is a good enough reason in itself to eat them. And the fact they taste good.
Absolutely.
I think they're demonized because with carbs, they can cause you to hold, a little bit extra water. So maybe if you have, more like a higher carb day, you might see a jump on the scales. And a lot of people will think, oh, those carbs have made me gain weight.
Well, they technically have, but it's not fat,
They have,
is it?
but it's not fat gain.
Weight isn't fat.
Weight gain and fat gain is two totally different things, which we won't go into just now. That is, as Lisa likes to say, for a whole other day. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why they do get demonized. So everyone's like, oh yeah, no carbs, let's go keto, or keto, or however you want to.
Doesn't matter because it's shit. We're not doing it regardless. So it doesn't matter.
But yeah, no, carbs they're pretty essential, I would say.
And the biggest thing as well is enjoyment. Like, they are so nice that there is absolutely no need to cut them out. But there's actually different sort of kinds of carbs as well, isn't there? You've got every carb is sat on a spectrum basically of quick acting sugars, slow acting. And it tends to be your quick ones that are easier to overeat on because you don't feel as full. But whereas your higher carb, your higher slow releasing carbs, like oats, whole grains, those sort of things, they actually keep you full for longer. They give you slow release energy. And actually that's where a lot of nutrients come from as well. when people think about cutting carbs, people don't realize that fruit and veg comes into that bracket, and like whole grains. That's like an essential source of a lot of our micronutrients, which is vitamins and minerals. So it's so important that you do include carbs in a diverse array. And what we would say is when you are looking to pick your carbs, seeing if you can prioritize those slower release carbs, your fruits, your veggies where possible. We're never saying don't eat, white bread. That's a myth. Don't eat white pasta. Don't eat
carbs after like 5 o'clock.
I really don't know where that rule even came from. Like, it's just not a thing at all. So that's carbs. Fats. Do you want to take that one, Leanne?
Yes. I don't know why I said that like that.
Yeah, I do. Oh my God, let's go.
I feel bad for fats. I think they get like a bad rap purely because like of the word fat. Like you just like associate fat with bad, don't you?
Judging it by its name.
Literally, yeah.
It almost needs another name, doesn't it? Because when you think of body fat, it's like body fat is something I don't want. Therefore, I don't want to eat fats because I don't want to be fat. But you almost have to look at them as completely separate things, don't you?
It's just its name. So fats are great. And you need fats just for like general health. So cutting out fats, it's not the one.
No. And in terms of health benefits, because people think of the negatives, don't they? Like, well, fats are associated with like heart disease and those sort of things. High cholesterol. But actually, it depends on the kind of fats and sort of how much you have. Again, anything in excess is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, if you eat too many apples, that's probably going to be a problem. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Too many bananas, probably going to be a problem. Excess fats, it's a problem. Now, the reason that fats are easy to overeat on, comparative to protein and carbs, is the calories per gram. So protein and carbs, 4 calories a gram, fats are 9, which is why like a little teaspoon of olive oil or a teaspoon of peanut butter, it's not a lot, but it can be the same calories as your slice of bread.
Yeah. Sometimes,
if not more, depends how much peanut butter you have. But the benefits of fats, essential hormone function. Women, hormones, very important for us. Hormones are built from fats. So when I was saying about proteins, the building blocks of everything, it's not quite everything. Hormone production, we do need fats for that. Heart health, like it actually can build up your good cholesterol. There's so many. If you just typed it in on Google, I don't say type things on Google, but in this instance do, because it just gives you there's so much like a benefit. So it's just looking at it in moderation and looking at your quote unquote healthy fats. So you've got your saturated, unsaturated, unpolysaturated fats. So looking at things like, nuts, seeds, dark chocolate, peanut butter, avocado, oily fish, like they're so good for you. Like so good for you. But the reason that we don't get you to look at, well, how many fats a day should I be eating? How many carbs a day should I be eating? You can do that, and we're never going to say you can or you shouldn't do that. But it just overcomplicates it. Like at the end of the day, as long as you are including protein, you're including carbs, you're including fats, and you're eating it in a way that feels balanced and good for you. And that's why we have the guides to give you sort of balanced, meal ideas of, well, what does a good balance of that look like? Then you'll be absolutely fine. And from experience, I think if you macro track, and we've all given it a go, it become really confusing.
It can become really overwhelming because rather than just focusing on the calories, you're focusing on the other different things as well. And it's just, I think you can get very obsessed with it.
Very obsessed. That's the main thing. It's the relationship with food side of things, of how you're like, I can't eat that because that's going to take me over my carbs. And it's like, but you're still in your calories, but it's taking me over my carbs. Well, it's taking me over my fat. So no, I don't want to do that. And it's just not worth it. Just absolutely not worth it. So if people are going to say, well, is there a minimum of everything I should have? Well, that's why we give you your protein. Carbs, I wouldn't say there's necessarily a minimum. Like, it's what you function and thrive best off, because everyone's different. Like, some people respond better to more carbs, some people it's less. But fats, I would say just try and not go below 20 to 30 grams a day where you can help it. Just over prolonged periods of time, anything less than that, you can run into potential health. We're talking over prolonged periods of time and at lower body fat levels. But other than that, no. So that's macros, I think, summed up pretty well.